الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. One remaining discussion from the unit 3 is the discussion about qada and qadar. Human beings are free in the sense that we have different options to choose from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلِ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. We have showed the man the path. So you have guidance, you have information. Because without that you cannot make good choice. But after being given guidance, then either you decide to be grateful, so you follow the guidance, or you want to be ungrateful, so you disregard the guidance. Allah asks us to be good, to follow the guidance, but He doesn't force. At the same time, this doesn't mean that we are not accountable for what we decide. So you are given everything you need, knowledge, power to do good things. But if instead you do bad things, you have to answer. Okay. Something that sometimes people misunderstand is the Quranic concept of qada and qadar. And inshallah, I want to have discussion about these two important notions to see whether they contradict freedom or indeed they are very much compatible with freedom. First of all, let us see different occurrences of the term qada and qadar in the Quran. In the Quran, qada yaqdi, qada'an is used in different senses. Sometimes it is used to refer to a firm and final will of God. Final will of God. For example, in the same way that Allah says, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَنْ يَقُولَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. In the same way, He also says, إِذَا قَضَى أَمْرًا فَإِنَّمَا يَقُولُ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. So, in Surah Yasin, verse 82, He says when He does irada, means when He wills to create something, He says be, and there it is. In Surah Baqarah, verse 117, instead of saying arada, He said qadha. Qadha amran. So you realize that qadha and arada here means the same. So when He makes decision to create something, then He says be, and there it is. Sometimes qada is used to refer to legislation. When Allah makes a law, makes a legislation. For example, in this famous ayah about parents, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ. Surah Isra, verse 23. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ. Your Lord made the law, made the legislation. It's a command. Here it doesn't mean qadha like the previous one, which was the will for creation. This is legislation. Allah made this command that you should not worship anyone other than Him, and you should be kind with your parents. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. So qadha can sometimes mean passing a law. The third sense in which it is used in the Quran is to judge. And nowadays we use this a lot, qadi is judge. For example, Surah Nisa, verse 65. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Allah says, by your Lord, they are not believers unless when they have a dispute, they leave it to you to decide, to judge. And when you judge, they should accept it and should not feel any problem in their heart. They must be fully satisfied with your decision. When Rasulullah makes a decision, you should be happy with decision. So, qadayta means judge. لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت means about the judgment that you made. Another meaning of qada yaqdi in the Quran is to finish something. For example, Allah says, فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُم مَّنَاسِكَكُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. When you finished your rituals, your a'mal, your manasik in Hajj, قَضَيْتُم means you finish. Or in Surah Jummah, فَإِذَا غُذِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. So, qada yaqdi means to finish. Another meaning of qada yaqdi means to destroy, to terminate. For example, the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he saw two people are fighting, and one of them was a person who was a supporter of Fir'aun, then he went and Quran says, فَذَكَزَهُ مُوسَى فَقَضَى عَلَيْهِ. Punch of Musa finished him. Of course, it doesn't mean that the punch was necessarily too strong. Maybe that person, I don't know, was frightened or had heart attack, whatever. So anyway, he died. So qada alayh means finished him. Or the people who are in hell, they say to the patron, the angel of who is responsible for the hell, وَنَادَوْا يَا مَالِكْ لِيَقْضَ عَلَيْنَا رَبُّكَ. Your Lord should finish us, should terminate us. Means we don't want to survive, we don't want to live here. Okay. If you look at all these occurrences of the term qada, you find something common. Whether it is in the sense of will for creation, whether it is in the sense of legislation, in the sense of finishing something, making judgment, destroying something, in all these cases, something is common. And that is to put an end. To be final and decisive. When someone is making a judgment, it means that he wants to finish the dispute. Always the meaning of ending is there. So, qada is to be final, to be decisive, to leave no ambiguity. Okay? What is qadar? Let me explain also literal meaning of qadar, and then inshallah I will explain these two as two technical terms. Qadar means measure or size. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Fussilat, verses 11 and 12, He says that ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا أو كرها قالتا أتينا طائعين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the creation of the sky and the earth, how a sky at the beginning was like a smoke, like a gas, and then Allah says فَقَضَاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ. In 2 days, 2 stages, Allah created 7 skies. وَأَوْحَى فِي كُلِّ سَمَاءٍ أَمْرَهَا وَزَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ. Then the lowest sky is decorated with the stars, which are like lights. وَحِفْظًا, at the same time, these protect. Then it says, ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. This is taqdeer. This is the planning, the measuring, the designing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, everything in this world is according to taqdeer, according to planning and measuring of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But sometimes also he mentions a specific taqdeer, not general taqdeer, a specific planning. For example, he says, وَالَّذِي نَزَّلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً بِقَدَرٍ. He sent down water from the sky, بِقَدَرٍ, means with a specific measure. You know, when rain comes, we think that perhaps it comes, just by accident, by chance. But every drop of rain is measured. Every drop of rain which is coming is measured by the laws that Allah has created. It doesn't come one drop less or more. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about rizq. He says, لَكِنْ يُنَزِّلُ بِقَدَرٍ مَا يَشَاءُ. He sends down your sustenance in measure. Everything is measured. Or he says, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. Sun is in its own orbit, moving, and it's planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, according to the Quran, everything comes in a measure, in a very well defined measure and size. Now, let us start talking about the technical meaning. So far, I have tried to mention different meanings which are literally used. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so please make note of these points. These are very important points. The first point is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala runs this world with planning. Nothing happens in bulk, by chance, blindly, in vain. No. Everything, even the smallest thing that you can imagine, comes according to a very specific planning. If me and you had the knowledge, we could have predicted everything. To some extent, nowadays, we can predict certain things. We can predict, for example, I don't know, moon eclipse, or sometimes, we can predict, earthquake, but our knowledge is very limited. Sometimes animals know better than us. There is a famous story that Khaja Nasiruddin Tusi, I think it was Khaja Nasir if I'm not mistaken, he went somewhere, he was a great philosopher, theologian, jurist, mathematician, astronomer. He was a very special man. Once he went to a place and he wanted to sleep outside under the sky. The person who was there as a caretaker, he said, tonight you shouldn't sleep outside. He said, why? He said, I think it's going to rain. Khaja Nasir was an astronomer. He looked at the sky, everything. He said, there is no sign of rain. I sleep outside. Then, in the middle of the night, it started raining. So he was surprised. He had a discussion with this man. How did you know? I, as expert, I didn't know. He said, because my dog, every night that is raining, comes inside. And this night, it came inside. So the dog was more understanding of this. Sometimes animals understand when earthquake is coming. much faster than us. So our knowledge is very limited. But if we had enough knowledge, we could have predicted everything that happens in the nature, in the world. Even we could have predicted when a dua is answered, when it's not answered, because everything has regulations. It's not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like some of us, that you can never predict. Sometimes, you give a cup of water to someone, he thanks you a lot. The next day you give him the same thing, he doesn't say anything. You are surprised, what happened? Yesterday he thanked me, today he doesn't say anything. We are not always predictable. One thing that can confuse children and students and your trainee is if you are not acting regularly. They will be confused. For example, he says, or your child, says the prayer, you thank him, but one day you are busy, he says, Mommy, I said my prayer, don't say anything. Then the child is confused, what happened? So maybe I did something wrong, or maybe I shouldn't have said my prayer. You should always try to be consistent. Otherwise you will confuse the trainee. Allah is always consistent. Nothing is happening in vain or by chance. But the problem is that we don't know. We think that it is by chance. Our philosophers have even gone to the extent that they said, there is no such thing as chance. Never anything happens by chance. You go to a street and you say, by chance I saw my friend. You say by chance because you didn't know. If you knew that, for example, he wanted to buy something from the opposite shop, you could have also predicted that you will meet. So if someone is looking from top, he knows everything exactly. There is no chance. We think it's chance. So everything in this world is according to planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything is according to programs that Allah has made. The second thing is that everything is also according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing can happen without His will, without His irada. Yesterday we talked about Tawheed Af'ali, I explained this. So anything is according to a plan, anything is also according to His will. But sometimes the planning is done in the way that it has only one way to go. There is no choice, there is no different options. It goes as is programmed in advance. For example, when it comes to the nature, when it comes to the movements of the stars, they go as they are planned. When it comes to human beings, then Allah has given us choice. If you take option A, then you would end meeting this point. For example, you go to north. If you take option B, you go to south. If you go option C, you go to west. If you go D, you go to east. You have different options. But you cannot take option A and instead go to south. Any option that you choose, again, is programmed to reach a certain destination, certain end. You can go to a school and study. You can go to school and play. All the time you play. Okay, there are two options. But you cannot expect to play all the time and learn. If you study, it will lead to learning and success. If you are wasting your time, it would lead to failure. You can eat healthy food and keep your strength. You can refuse eating, or you can eat something bad and makes yourself ill. You have the choice. But each choice that you make then follows very careful planning and programs made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, these scientists, when they make medicine, okay? So they know that, for example, if they take this medicine and that medicine and mix it with this percentage, it would have this impact. If they overdo it, it may kill. If they do less, it may be useless. So you have different options, but each option is leading to certain action. So, what is qaza and qadar? Qadar is the route that you take, the path that you choose. And qada is the end, the result of that route, which is final, decisive. And this is why it is called qaza. So it's not predestined in the sense that whether you like it or not, whether you are careful or not, this is going to happen. No. It's up to you. You can follow this path or that path. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam once was sitting under a wall, and that wall was collapsing and going to collapse. You know, it was not stable. So Imam alayhi salam, when he saw the wall is not stable, he left. Someone said, do you run away? Do you escape from Allah's qada and qadar? Imam said, I am running from qada to qadar, something like this. It means that if I stay here, okay, then it can collapse on me. If I go there, it doesn't collapse on me. Someone went to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and said, is this fruit or food that he had, is it qaza of qadar of Allah to eat or not? His intention was that if Imam says qaza of Allah is to eat, then he doesn't eat. If Imam says no, then he eats. He wanted to refute Imam. Then Imam says, if you eat, it was qaza and qadar. If you don't eat, it was not qaza and qadar. So it's up to you. You can take a car which is nice, you know, has passed MOT, everything, drive carefully, follow the traffic regulations, and arrive safely. You can use a car without, you know, for example, without, I don't know, good tire, without good, you know, wheel, without observing the regulations, and at the same time also drink alcohol, and then speak over mobile, and then you say it was qaza of Allah to have accident. It's up to you. Allah is not responsible for the problem that you face now. So, unfortunately, when we make success, I say it was me. When we fail, we say it was qaza and qadar. Like, you know, students, when they get, you know, good result, when they get A, they go home and said, I got A. If they get D, they said the teacher gave me D. They don't say I got D. So whenever we face problem, we say it was qaza or qadar, it was decided by Allah. But if there is any success, says it was me. But in reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a space. This space is not unlimited. I don't have control over everything. But there is a space in which I have control. Okay? I cannot change the whole world. I cannot change the whole, you know, society. But I have enough space to decide for my happiness or miserable life. Okay? I cannot change everything. But I have enough to act in the way that I can have prosperity in dunya and akhirah. Qada and qadar are fixed after your decision, not before your decision. If you decide to follow the guidance of Allah, act wisely and make efforts, you would be successful. Otherwise, you would fail. Yes. Please listen very carefully to this beautiful point. Yes. Sometimes there are things that Allah has already made a decision about them, which is part of the laws and sunan of Allah for the world. No one can change it. But still you are free. For example, Allah has made this necessary that this world would not end without establishment of universal justice. لقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون. Yeah? Righteous people would inherit the earth. This is fixed. But still, this is not imposed. This is going to happen. But it's up to you. You can be the generation that make this happen. Or next generation can make this happen. Or after 1,000 years. Allah is waiting for people to rise and establish universal justice. So, although this is fixed, still we are not forced. Okay? Another thing which is also mentioned in the Quran is that sometimes Allah has a fixed plan not for future, even maybe has a fixed plan for a nation, for a generation. And that must happen at the time of that generation, but still he does it in the way that they are free. This is a beautiful point. Inshallah, you remember as a gift from me. How Allah makes his plan in the way that you are free, but what he wants happens. I give you one example from the Quran, which is about one of the battles in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Anfal, verse 44. I think this was about Badr. Allah says, وَإِذْ يُرِيكُمُوهُمْ إِذَا الْتَقَيْتُمْ فِي أَعْيُنِكُمْ قَلِيلًا وَيُقَلِّلُكُمْ فِي أَعْيُنِهِمْ لِيَقْضِيَ اللَّهُ أَمْرًا كَانَ مَفْعُولًا. You can also later read that ayah. So verse 44, Surah Anfal. Allah says, He made them in your eyes little in number. Okay? And made you also little in their eyes. So for example, if you were 313, they thought you are 100. If they were 1,000 or thousands, you thought they are few hundreds. Why? Because Allah wanted this happen. If you knew that there are too many, then you would have been frightened. So, He wanted this to happen, but He didn't want to force you. But He designed it in the way that you go for the option that He wants. Okay? For example, nowadays, the people who are experts in campaigning, or for example, if there is campaign for presidential campaign, or if there are marketing for business, they know that you are free, but they can plan in the way that you freely do what they want. They know your psychology. They know how to present to you this product that you freely buy. What is the power of advertisement? If you want something and you buy it, then this doesn't show the power of advertisement. But advertisement is that make you buy what you don't want with the money that you don't have. You don't have money and you don't want this, but they are so much clever that make you use credit or loan to buy something that you don't want. But still you are free. Okay? So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even for the things which are rare, that He wants to happen at certain time, still He doesn't stop your freedom. Now, look at the story of Pharaoh and Musa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a plan for Bani Israel, to save Bani Israel, because Pharaoh was enslaving them, torturing them, humiliating them. So Allah wanted to free Bani Israel. Okay, look how Allah plans. He made Pharaoh have a dream that Musa is going to be born. Someone is going to be born to Bani Israel who's going to defeat him. So Allah informed him about his plan. Pharaoh thought he is very clever. He said, now I stop Allah's plan. So he said, I am going to kill all the sons of Bani Israel so that that person is not born. Then mother of Musa, because of the pressure of fear, if Pharaoh was not killing, he was never, putting Musa in the casket. Because of the fear, put Musa in a casket and put into the river. The river had different branches. This went to that branch which was next to the palace of Pharaoh, right at the time that Pharaoh and his wife were there, who had no child. So, Allah didn't force them to choose Musa or adopt him as a son. They freely did this. But who is planning all this? So they said, let's take Musa as our child. Now, Musa is in need of mother. So Allah made Musa not to drink milk, not to accept from any lady. Then the sister said, Hal adullukum ala ahle baytin yakfulunahu. So mother came. But now Musa has two mothers. One is his mother, real mother. One is Lady Asiya, who might be even much more pious than the mother of Musa, because she's one of the 4 most outstanding ladies. Okay? So Musa, if was in his own house, he had only one mother. Now he has even extra caring, pious mother. If he was in his own house, he had perhaps little facilities. He had to go to perhaps public school. But now He has a grammar school just in the palace for himself. Pharaoh brings the best teachers, the best instructors for Musa, the best dress, the best food. Everything is available for Musa. So what is Pharaoh doing? Pharaoh is helping his own competitor, doing his best to bring him up. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't take away freedom from Pharaoh. He doesn't need to force us. But he made plans in the way that Pharaoh's plan served his master plan. Now you better understand the meaning of makaru wa makar Allah. Normally we say makaru wa makar Allah means Allah makes plan, people make plan, Allah's plan is better. No, I think it's better than this. You make a plan, Allah make a plan, then Allah makes your plan at the service of his plan. So the more you struggle against him, the faster his plan is implemented. If Pharaoh in the first place would have said, I cannot stop Allah's plan, I cannot resist, it was helping him. Maybe Allah could have, saved him. But when he struggles hard to defeat Allah's plan, then indeed he is making the plan faster, speeding up the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Allah says, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفَئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ or يَعْبَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا أَنْ يُتِمَّ نُورَهُ. There are two verses in the Quran. There are people that when they see there is fire projecting light, they want to blow with their mouth to extinguish. لِيُطْفَئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ means with their mouth. They want to blow and then extinguish this fire. But indeed Allah makes the fire, the light more complete. Why? Because then they give oxygen to this fire. They cannot extinguish. They make it, more. So, coming back to the issue of qaza and qadar, there are things that happen according to a fixed planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is where we are not involved. No voluntary action is involved. Like stars moving. There are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made optional. That is when a being which has freedom is involved. So he has made different options available for us. He doesn't force. He says, I leave it to you, but choose the best one, the good one. But if you choose this, that would be the result. If you choose this, that would be the result. If you take this path, this happens. If you take that one, that happens. If you do dua, this would be result. If you don't do dua, this would be result. For example, everything that you have can lead to live 60 years old. For 60 years. You can become 60 years old. Okay? With all your genetic and I don't know, diet, everything, maybe you can live 60 years old. But if you do Salih Rahim, this can be 70. If your parents are happy with you, this can be 80. If you do Sadaqah, it can be 90. If you pray, it can be 100. Hadith says in Akhirul Zaman, many people die before their fixed deadline comes. We could have lived longer. There is no reason why we should live for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. We can live for 100, 150, 200 years. Our body is capable. It's because of the food, because of the stress, lifestyle, our sins, our misbehavior towards our parents and family members and kinship, that our life can become shorter and shorter. So, every factor that you bring in can change the overall situation. You read in hadith which says, الدعاء يرد القضاء المبرم الذي أبرم إبرامه. There is a final qaza that this should happen. But you do dua, then it changes. Why? Because that was final for the situation prior to bringing the factor of dua. But when you bring dua, then overall balance changes. If you make hot water and put tea without sugar, the qaza would be that it's not sweet. If you add sugar, then the qaza is that it would be sweet. The same is with dua, the same is with sadaqah, the same is with kindness to parents. It's like adding sugar, adding extra factor. So, no one should think that Allah's qada and qadar are replacing our choice. They are not replacing our choice. Our choice is there. We have to be very careful, very wise in our decision making. There is also one question that sometimes people may ask, why so much emphasis has been put on qada and qadar? Why this is mentioned in Quran, in Hadith? The answer is, these are mentioned in order to make us alert, make us aware that everything has a reason and a way to achieve. Nothing happens by chance. And in the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge of this system. If you want success, follow the path that He says is leading to success and make good relation with Him. He can help you all the time. If you don't want success, you can ignore His guidance. So it has a very educational, role to believe that everything is according to His plan, according to His decision, and He is in charge of everything. Now you also realize the issue of being tested. Why we are tested? Why we are tried? Doesn't Allah know what I am going to do? Why He needs to test us? The answer is clear. He doesn't need to test us for His information. He tests us when we are exercising our free will. People unfortunately get it wrong. They think that Allah is testing us, and then because of His testing us, we are, leading our life. No, we are having our own life, and then Allah looks at everything and measures what we have done. Let me give you an example. Sometimes I am a driving instructor, for example. I take my trainee and say, okay, start moving. This is a test. Can he start moving, carefully, smoothly or not? Then I say, turn right, turn left, park here. Okay, so everything he's doing is my instruction because I am testing him. He has no purpose. And this turn right, left, or are useless. Yeah? Because we don't want to go anywhere. Okay? We are just being tested. But sometimes this person that I want to test is taking the car and he wants to go to, for example, work. I sit next to him and say, okay, where do you want to go? Go. And I examine his driving when he is going to work. He's not doing anything for me to test him. He's doing his own life. I am testing him. Do you understand? Now, if you say, why you are testing him? You should be able to understand his driving ability from outside. My answer is that he's not doing anything for me. He has been given chance to show his capability, and I am using that as a means of test. You understand? In other words, if I don't give him this chance to go to work, this chance to use his car, how is he going to lead his life? How is he going to be successful or not? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us opportunity of living and building our happiness. Now you say to Allah, Allah, please just test me without having to go through difficulties, without having, to go through real life challenges. So this means then you are not a human being. You are not going to live in this world. You are not going to have chance of making yourself better. Test is the result of what you do, not that what you do is because of the test. People don't get this properly. For example, I say you go to a school, to university, there will be exams. Then you say, why I should go to a school and university? You must give me a mark through your experience. By looking at me, you can give me a mark. I say, for you to go to a school and university is important. Test is a marginal issue. Test is for examination purpose. But if you don't go to a school and university, even if I give you good mark, what is going to happen to you? So Allah has given us this life in order to make ourselves better. Test is something that He is doing along with our normal life. Not that we are living because of His test. Okay? Another explanation that you can say is Allah's knowledge of what we do is not determined in advance, in eternity. Maybe they are known by Allah in eternity, but they are determined by what I am doing now. If I know what you are going to do tomorrow, okay, for example, I know that tomorrow you are going to have breakfast. Okay, are you going to have breakfast tomorrow because of me knowing that? Or I knew because of you were going to have breakfast tomorrow? Did my knowledge determine what you are going to do tomorrow? Or what you are going to do tomorrow determined my knowledge? My knowledge cannot determine what you are doing. I know that sun tomorrow is rising from the east. I know that. And I know also that sun after 100 years is going to rise from the east. But is my knowledge determining what sun is going to do? No. Knowledge can never determine what is known. Logically, it's impossible. What is known always determines the knowledge. Because knowledge is passive. I cannot say, I want to know in this way or that way. You know what is going to happen. You know the reality. Because the reality is deciding what you are knowing, not vice versa. Sometimes you have for example, if you are a good teacher and experienced, after few weeks, you can understand that who is going to fail, who is going to pass. Okay, those who fail at the end of the year, can they blame you and say, because you knew that I am failing, I failed? If you didn't know that, I was not going to fail. Say, no. My knowledge was based on your performance. But because of my experience, I could foresee. Otherwise, I didn't force you. I just foresaw. So Allah's knowledge is there, but it is because of what I am doing. If I decide to do good things, He knows that I am doing good things. If I decide to do bad things, He knows that I am doing bad things. Why Allah knew what Imam Hussein is doing and what Yazid is doing? Because they themselves decided to do those things. It's not that Imam Hussein became a good person because Allah knew that he's going to be a good person. And Yazid became a bad person because Allah knew that he's going to be a bad person. It's vice versa. آخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.